we break it down, 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 down. She break it down, 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 down. She got a message for the people, a brilliant mind and a clean soul. She's standing up to the evil and making sure that we all grow strong enough to break these chains we in that keep us in this painful condition. She give us truth and division. That's why we listen. She break it down, 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 down.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You are listening to Lurie Daniel Favors on Sirius XM's Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. We got a lot to get into this morning. This is going to be a bit of a quick one. I want to give you all a note, as I've said to the Urban View audience multiple times today. Later on in today's podcast, Lurie breaks it down. We are going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into the Texas Senate race, exploring what's been happening between the camps supporting James Talarico and the attacks that Jasmine Crockett has been facing from said camps. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the pushback that's been happening there. So I really encourage you all to take a listen to the podcast episode, which will be out later on today. It'll be out actually later on this evening. We got a lot of things happening with the producer. So I know it's usually out between 2 and 3 o'clock, but the episode of Lurie Breaks It Down will be out later today around 5 or 6 o'clock or so. But we got a lot to unpack there. So we're making it very meaty, very meaty. Oh, should be out regular. Okay. Oh, the team just said they. Okay. See, this is why the team be teaming. So the team said they're going to make sure that they get it out at the regular time, but give us some grace. Give us some grace. So you're listening, of course, to Lurie Daniel Favors on Sirius XM's Urban View. And we got a lot to unpack this morning. Why can't I see? I don't have my glasses on. Lord have mercy. I'm like, why do things look fuzzy? I did not have my glasses on. And now I'm focused. I want to start by reminding all of you about the acronym that I coined after the 2024 election, which was WEI. WEI stands for white, entitled, and incompetent. And we came up with the acronym of WEI to replace the effort that a lot of people were engaging in, trying to use the phrase DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, to describe what was happening when overly qualified black people were being wrongfully removed from positions and being replaced with mediocre white people, typically mediocre white men. And that acronym was important because you had people like the phenomenal General Lloyd Austin, who has run the entire military for 11 years and has been over entire continents. And he was replaced with Pete, his own mama say he's trash, and a war criminal, likely is certainly a killer of people in the Caribbean who have minded their business of just being fishermen. Hegseth. Pete, his own mama say he's trash. Hegseth, that one. So when you replace somebody who's as phenomenally accomplished as a Lloyd Austin with someone like a Pete, his own mama say he's trash. Hegseth, who ain't accomplished much of nothing but sleeping his way to the top and cheating on every baby mama that he done made a wife, then you realize that DEI was the wrong acronym. We needed WEI to explain white, entitled, incompetency, because when you realize that the ideas of white supremacy are basically ideals that white narcissists created so that they could live in a cocoon where their greatness was not to be questioned, and basically everybody who thought they weren't great, something was wrong with them, that is a very weak-minded person. And so we needed a new acronym. So today we're going to be talking about some of the WEI roundups in news that we have, because there's a lot. First things first. As we look at today's copy of the Financial Times, what we learn is that professionals are feeling the squeeze in the worst January for U.S. jobs since the financial crisis. And that's because of WEI economic policies brought to you by a WEI administration, namely Donald Trump. According to the report, U.S. employers cut more jobs in January than in any start to a year since 2009. Do you remember what was happening in 2009? Oh, yes, because in 2008, Lehman Brothers had crashed. The stock market has crashed. Credit lines had frozen. The Americans had to save the bailout or save all the auto industry. Barack Obama is getting inaugurated, and he had to do a whole bunch of cleanup mess from the previous administration's WEI handling of the economy. According to the report, jobs cut last month jumped to 108,435. Employment Services report, separate data released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is really interesting considering that the last time Donald Trump got numbers he didn't like, he fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But according to the BLS, U.S. job openings fell to their lowest level in more than 5 years in December, while the number of people filing for unemployment insurance bounced back in late January after a seasonal lull. So what this means is y'all's president is terrible at math. He's terrible at economy. And remember when I told you all yesterday about the difference between a king and an elected official? Right. Well, kings do stupid shit like crash the economy and then blame everybody else. Elected officials are accountable for those sorts of things. Elected officials recognize that you don't hold money ransom, or should I say you don't hold money hostage so that you can get, foolish sort of trinket prizes like having your name put on things. And yet y'all's president has decided that is exactly what he wants to do. We are learning from ABC News and a number of other outlets that Donald John Trump The WEI of them all is now going to be withholding funds from the state of New York, from the states of New York and New Jersey, unless they agree to name Penn Station and Dulles Airport after him. I'm not kidding. I wish I were kidding, but this man is literally in a position where he has now decided that he doesn't want to do anything if it's not going to allow him to benefit from it personally. I want you all to take a listen to this clip. Now, YouTube, I know I usually share my screen with all of you, but my computer's doing a weird thing. You're not going to be able to see the clip, but you will be able to hear it. Jonah, if you could please let that run so we could hear the craziness that y'all's president is trying to do right now. Let's take a listen.
The latest now, President Trump pushing for New York's Penn Station and Virginia's Dulles Airport to be renamed after him, in exchange for releasing billions in frozen funds already approved by Congress. John Carl has the details. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. It's no secret that Donald Trump likes to see big buildings named after himself. Over the past year, he has plastered his name on the Kennedy Center and the U.S. Institute for Peace. And in December, the Navy announced plans for a, quote, Trump class of battleships. Just last night, Trump unveiled a new government website for prescription drugs called Trump RX. But this goes further than any of that. Two sources familiar with a conversation that President Trump had with Senate Leader Chuck Schumer last month tell me that Trump told Schumer that he would be willing to unfreeze $16 billion in funding for a major infrastructure project in New York if Schumer would agree to rename New York's Penn Station and Washington's Dulles Airport after Donald Trump. The New York project, a rail tunnel that would connect New York City and New Jersey, had already started. Now officials say if the money is not freed up, the project will stop, leaving about 1,000 construction jobs in jeopardy. My sources tell me that Schumer rejected the offer. There is no comment yet from either the White House or Senator Schumer's office on the story, which was first reported by Punchbowl News. George?
Okay, John Carl, thanks very much.
Y'all, this man is so petty pants. He's such a mamby-pamby, weak-kneed. And what did Bill Maher used to call him? A whiny little bitch before Bill Maher kind of evolved into one. But they're literally now withholding billions of dollars, $16 billion in federal funds, not for Chuck Schumer's personal pet projects, but for massive infrastructure projects that are already partially underway. And so the reality that we are now looking at between New York and New Jersey is that this infrastructure, the Hudson Tunnel project, which would connect New York City and New Jersey, that project has already started. There are already big ass holes in the ground. You can drive down the Hudson River and you can see the big asshole. It's massive construction, and it is going to basically, this project was supposed to build 9 miles of new passenger rail track, and it was supposed to rehabilitate the North River Tunnel. Now, y'all know I'm a little New York City centric because I'm in Brooklyn, but the reality is New York City drives this nation's economy, okay? And so when you have a massive project like this that is supposed to expand the capacity for travel to go between New York and New Jersey to driving major economies in this nation, then you realize just how fucking stupid these people are. And the entire Congress is willing to go along with it because they believe the emperor is fully dressed. And we all know the emperor has no clothes. According to the Gothamist, one of America's biggest construction jobs has halted, which means, again, they were already underway and they have had to end that construction because Donald Trump had already signaled he was going to hold off on this money. They have since had to file a lawsuit to get access to the funds. But we're now in a situation where because this man can't have his ego stroked, he is going to now prevent the Gateway Development Commission from being able to complete a project because he will not give up the money unless they name it after him. What a whiny little bitch. Like, what is wrong with this man and all the little bitch assistants who are helping them? Like, this is so petty pants. It is so embarrassing. A grown-ass man would never be willing to allow himself to be exposed to such ridicule. But this man ain't a grown-ass man. He's a whole-ass bitch. According to the reports, it's not even the $16 billion that they're not going to give. You can't just shut down a project like this all willy-nilly. And so it's now going to take between $15 and $20 million a month for them to be able to close this system down. So it is absolutely ridiculous. And it's very unfortunate because we now have these massive holes. They're going to have to fill the holes. They're going to have to remove all the equipment. I'm talking massive tunnels that were being bored underground, underwater. And this is why the country is in the condition it's in. And this is why We're in a situation where we have the worst jobs report coming out this January of any other January since 5 Januaries ago, which was when who was in office? I believe that was when your president, Donald J. Trump, was in office. And so here we are. We're also learning that Donald Trump is very, very upset about money that he thinks we, the American people, owe him. I know we don't owe him shit, but he believes that we owe him money. And so he has filed a lawsuit. And the way he has structured the lawsuit, he has basically filed the lawsuit as against himself because he runs the government. And so if he wins the lawsuit, he will secure an additional bag of $10 billion with a B dollars. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is where that money coming from? If he's suing the federal government and he is the federal government and he's suing them personally, then where's that money going to come from? Well, fortunately for us, there was some testimony from the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who you all may recall was besties with the billionaire who was very much invested in Argentina. Argentina got that $40 billion package when Americans still ain't got no health care, still can't afford to get a house. I want y'all to take a listen to this exchange in Congress where they are talking about this lawsuit, because if Donald Trump wins the lawsuit, he gonna win $10 billion. So it's important that we know where the $10 billion coming from. Jonah, let's hear the clip.
And there's really no accountability. Black people love him, all these things.
Oh, that's not the
but
right
you know,
clip.
when
That's
I try
John
to
Boy Jr.
attend
This should be the Trump. Oh, you know what? In fact, let me turn it up so y'all can just hear it, because I think we're struggling with the media. Oh, damn it. It's all going wrong. I hate it when we're trying to do this in real time. Jonah, do we have the actual clip? I was trying to just do this on my end, but I just hear myself. Okay. Well, don't worry about it. The clip did not get sent. So that's my bad. But here you can see, and in fact, I will take this link and I will just drop this into the chat so you all can hear it. Basically, Ruben Gallego is talking with Scott Bessent, and he says to him, let's say that Donald Trump wins this lawsuit. Where would that $10 billion come from if Donald Trump wins the $10 billion? Scott Bessent says it comes from the Treasury. Ruben Gallego says, wait a minute, from the Treasury, you mean from the taxpayers? Scott Bessent says yes. So Donald Trump has sued the Americans, the American people. He wants $10 billion. And if he wins the lawsuit, which he very well might, that means we, the American people, in addition to all the other resources we have lost, are going to have to give him an additional $10 billion. And when you look at what's happening with our farming system, and that's one of the reasons why Jonah has this farm clip that we're about to play, we also now learn that Donald Trump has decided to exclude small farmers from his vision of what the American farm economy should look like. He had a meeting at the White House where members of the farm community, like the president of the National Black Farmers Association, John Boyd Jr., were excluded from participation. And because of that, he has been told, John Boyd Jr., he was told that the reason he was not allowed into the meeting is because this company, or excuse me, that was Freudian. It's not a company. This country is no longer into DEI. And so the DEI in this case would be black farmers being able to continue to farm. Donald Trump says we don't do black farmers anymore. We don't do DEI anymore. And so John Boyd Jr., the head of the National Black Farmers Association, was kicked out of the meeting, he was not allowed to attend the meeting because he represents what they call DEI. This is why it is so important for us to remember all elections have consequences. And I know while we don't like to acknowledge it, the reality is we absolutely must, because we're in a situation right now where they have done everything they can to destroy every single element of integration such as we know it. And that includes having equitable access to the White House. Now, having said that, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully we got the right clip. I think we do. Jonah's going to let us hear the clip, because it's important that you understand exactly what this president thinks about you and why elections matter. Let's take a listen.
and there's really no accountability. Black people love him, all these things. But you know, when I tried to attend the president's farm meeting that he had several weeks ago at the White House, there wasn't one black farmer at the table. As a matter of fact, there wasn't one black person in the room. And they told me I couldn't attend the White House meeting, something about they were moving away from DEI. I'm talking to you from my farm. There's no DEI on my farm. You know, my cattle eat the same amount of hay. My tractor burns the same amount of diesel fuel, and I have to be able to produce a crop here just like everybody else.
I'm sorry, what? There was a farm meeting at the White House. You tried to go. Were you there physically? Did they turn you away at the door? Or
the farm community is a very small community. So people were telling me that there was going to be a farm meeting, and I reached out to the White House to attend, and that's the feedback that they got. In fact, they said they were moving away from the black farmer issue. They were moving away from DEI and the small farmer issue, and they were focusing on large-scale white farmers and corporate farmers because they produce the most food, is what this administration said. and they told me that they may come back in a couple of years and revisit the farmers of color issue, but right now that they were moving away from it. And where's the accountability? I'm a farmer just like anybody else. As a matter of fact, I'm a pretty good farmer. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to survive under this president's horrible policies that they're putting out there.
Were there other smaller farmers there?
Not that I know of, and you guys could verify exactly who was at the table. But from what I was told, that there wasn't a black person in the room.
Let's hold the clip there. There's more to it in that conversation. We can stop it there. But I just need you all to be aware that not only are these people destroying their own economy, not only are they excluding black farmers, but you also heard it later on in the clip, they talk about the fact that there were no small farmers there. The Trump administration has decided to focus on agribusiness. They're no longer focusing on the small farmers. And so this is the result of WEI-ness. This is the result of what happens when you pick people because they're white and no other qualifications matter to you in the moment because your own racism blinded you to the reality. Now, having said all that, let's get to some good news because there is some good news out there that I want us to be aware of. Black people are moving forward all across the globe, and this is a wonderful thing. We are learning right now from a variety of reports that the countries of Ghana and Jamaica have signed an exchange agreement that would allow Ghanaian teachers and nurses to come to Jamaica under a very special program. You may recall that we had talked previously about some similar moves being made amongst a variety of black nations within the Caribbean, Barbados, Bahamas, and a number of others as well. Ghana's Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Ablakwa, has said that both countries are going to also initiate a Ghanaian-Jamaican defense cooperation agreement that will deepen strategic and security collaboration. We're also learning that what was disclosed at the meeting was a number of additional other progressive ideas. They're going to basically begin cooperating between the two countries, and they're going to have this, they believe, a shared commitment to advancing education, healthcare, and skills development. Jamaica is now embarking, according to the report, on a significant infrastructure upgrade, creating opportunities for Ghanaian companies to partner in key initiatives. You may remember that Hurricane Melissa came and and just destroyed a lot of the island. I shouldn't say a lot of the island, had a lot of impact on devastating impacts on significant portions of the island. And now they are going to, as a nation, be in partnership with Ghana so that they have opportunities for Ghanaian companies to partner in some of the key initiatives that will allow Jamaica to upgrade its infrastructure. We're also learning that the Prime Minister is pledging to support President Mahama's UN resolution to declare the transatlantic slave trade the greatest crime against humanity and to collectively demand reparations. So these are the sorts of moves that we are going to be highlighting because it is so important that as we explore the WEI-ness of this current administration, of America generally, that we remind ourselves of the excellence as to what is happening all across the globe when it comes to black nations. We also learned that the island of Haiti, the island nation of Haiti, got into a little bit of a kerfluffle with the Winter Olympics because they had, as a part of their design for their Olympics uniforms, a image of Toussaint Louverture on top of his horse. And Toussaint Louverture, as you all may recall, was the black general who basically was very instrumental in Haiti being able to kick France's ass. Now, Haiti was forced to remove the image of Toussaint Louverture from their Winter Olympics uniform, mainly because the Olympics committee said they didn't want to do anything political, which I thought was very interesting because don't y'all have flags of all the countries? And since when is gaining your freedom and celebrating the person who helped your country to become the country that it is, since when is that political? I mean, I don't know. I just think it's very interesting. But basically, for those of you who are not familiar, Toussaint Louverture was born as an enslaved African in 1743 in Saint-Domingue under French colonial rule. France forced over 800,000 people into slavery on the island, which means in the island nation of Haiti, which is half of the island of Hispaniola, they share the island of Hispaniola both with Haiti and the Dominican Republic. There were more enslaved Africans trafficked to Haiti to the tune of 800,000 directly from the continent of Africa than were trafficked to the United States of America, where less than 500,000 enslaved Africans came directly from Africa to here. Now, we obviously know that once you were in one part of the West, you could definitely be transported to another part of the West. There was a lot of interchange. There's a lot of folks who were coming from South Carolina and Georgia who got roots in Barbados, right? There are reasons why people look very, very similar similar because there was a lot of trade between these ports because they were trying to do as much they could to preserve the slave trade. Now, after France got its ass handed to them by Toussaint Louverture and the enslaved Africans who fought back and resisted, they basically refused to recognize Haiti as a country for a good 20 years. And Haiti then had to pay what is the current equivalent of, what was it, 135 billion with a B dollars as compensation to France. They had to pay reparations to France in order to be able to secure their freedom, because that reparations had to make up for the lost value of the enslaved African labor there. And so when you think about that, and you think about the fact that the Olympics committee said that you cannot have this man on your uniform, Haiti was like, I bet we got you. They made the most beautiful, and I encourage everybody to take a look at the Haitian Winter Olympics uniforms. They are absolutely beautiful. And you can see that they kept the resistance because they kept the horse that Toussaint Louverture was riding in on that uniform. So good on them. We are seeing these small signs, which are really big signs, all around the place of Black people, Black nations coming together, collaborating together, doing the work of uplifting each other, figuring out how to move forward beyond the morass that the Americans would have us be stuck into. And so I want us to all be encouraged. I want us to be excited, even as we see all the horrible things that are happening here in this country, because we got some horrible people in leadership. The reality is the world is a really big, beautiful, and amazing place. I cannot wait to go to Ghana. We're supposed to be going later on this year. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. South Africa last year was amazing for me, and I just cannot wait to go to Ghana and make connections. And then you all know my mother's from Jamaica, so this connection between Ghana and Jamaica, and we have actually, on my mother's side, been able to trace our lineage going back into Ghana. So it is a wonderful thing, and I'm very excited about it because we are seeing African nations and the Pan-African diaspora rise. We are seeing collaboration. We are seeing people figure out, you know what? We don't have to be limited by a vision of the world as set out by the Americans. There are other ways for us to reify ourselves, to affirm who we are, and to really take our rightful place in this world. So there's a lot that needs to be done. Yes, we know that it's not all easy. As I mentioned yesterday, we saw that the son of Muammar Gaddafi had been assassinated last week, and that is presenting additional challenges because we know that there's going to be a lot of incursion from the West into Africa, especially because the nations of Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger have basically said to France, you got to go. We don't care where you go, but you got to get the fuck out of here. And so we've seen that the West is very upset about this because it wasn't just that the West needed those resources. The West does not have any power. The West does not have any money. The West ain't got no spices, no sugar, no nothing if they can't steal it from the global South. And so this is a very important time. And I really just want to encourage you all, read as many international outlets as you possibly can. Now, y'all know I cited today from the Financial Times. I am not at all suggesting that the Financial Times is the outlet that we should look at, but it does give me an international sense as to what's happening with the money. And if you don't know what's happening with the money, then you don't know really what was funny. And so I use that for my financial information primarily. But there are so many news outlets that we should and must be seeking out. So if you can find English, I understand that most of us read English only. If you can find English translations of international media sources, really, really encourage you to do that. In fact, spend some time this weekend. Think about whatever country you've ever wanted to visit and then try to see what news sources they have there that you could tap into, because I guarantee you in a lot of those outlets, you're going to find more coverage about what's happening in the United States than you will find in American newspapers. And it is important that we become global citizens, that we recognize our connection to the globe broadly, because this shit right here is some hellishness coming to this place right here, because we ain't even talked about what's happening with crypto. We ain't talked about what's happening with gold and silver prices. We ain't talked about what's happening with the markets. We'll have to do that next week. But y'all, be encouraged. The world is really big and beautiful and amazing, and there is a renaissance, if you will, to use a French term, a rebirth, if you will, of the African spirit of liberation. And it is circling the globe in some very powerful ways. And we're going to continue to highlight those stories, because I don't want us to be so downtrodden with what's happening here that we forget that the rest of the world is moving on, and they're moving on beat. They're moving on in rhythm. They're moving on in ways that center them, that center melanin, that center those of us who recognize that the dark ages that we've been in, we see when they had dark ages in Europe, we wasn't in them dark ages. We wasn't in no caves eating each other. We had abundance. And I know a lot of y'all are familiar with Sheikh Anta Diop's two cradle theory. We had abundance. We had resources. That's why we was sharing so freely. When they came, we was giving them stuff. And when Mansa Musa traversed the width of the continent of Africa, sharing gold everywhere and put Africa on the map in terms of a source of gold, and basically brought the vultures. Sorry, ancestor Mansa Musa, but that was, I recognize what you were trying to do, but that's what put the spotlight and the bullseye on Africa. The reality is the power of the Pan-African diaspora is waking up And I want us to be encouraged about that. I want us to find ways to connect with that, whether it's here in this hemisphere or literally going across the world and connecting with other African nations. It is so important that those of us who are here realize that this ain't our only option. And as I said, when I was talking with Clay Kane, in the Urban View Town Hall for his book, Burn Down Master's House. Isn't it curious how every time we saw an example of resistance in enslavement, whether it was in his book, Burn Down Master's House, which was historical fiction, or in any of the actual conversations that enslaved Africans were having about their resistance efforts, none of them, not a single one of them, felt like they were stuck to the land where they had been enslaved because ancestors that they had descended from had been buried on that property. I want us to free ourselves from that way of thinking and recognize that we are not tied to geography. We're tied to spirit. We're tied to compassion. We're tied to empowerment. We're tied to each other. We're tied to community. And let that be how we move forward. All right, we're going to hold it there because we got to go to commercial break. On the other side of it, we're going to be talking a little bit, because it's Friday, we're going to be talking a little bit of Benito Bowl. We're going to have one of the members of the Hispanic Federation on with us to talk about the complexities of Bad Bunny's performance coming up this Sunday. I know a lot of y'all will be watching the Super Bowl, and it is going to be a cultural experience for those of you who sit through the halftime show, for any of you who know anything about that performer. And I'm looking forward to talking with this representative from Hispanic Federation about what's happening within the Latino community. What conversations are they having with realities like the fact that a lot of ICE agents are Latino? What conversations are they having about race in their community? Because you've got Black Latinos, white Latinos, light-skinned Latinos. You got the whole range. What conversations are they having about race right now within their communities as we see what's happening here in this country? So we're going to hold it there. YouTube, we appreciate you. We love you. Urban View, we're going to hold it for this